Welcome to our session titled Liberating Artificial Intelligence to Accelerate Build Back Better. My name is Matthew James Bailey and I'm author of Inventing World 3.0 Evolutionary Ethics for Artificial Intelligence. This is a playbook rich in frameworks, solutions and examples for nations, commerce and citizens on how to advance into resilient and flourishing futures in the world of humans and machines. This guide will assist in your leadership to build resilient and thriving world futures and build back better. I am also founder of AIethics.world. Please do check this out. We have an academy for federal and local government leaders to assist in formulating a winning partnership with artificial intelligence. You might want to check out our Ethical AI certification and maturity model, which assists your leadership in shepherding ethical AI human-centric futures. Okay, let's get going. Throughout this talk, please consider the following statement. The more we nourish the quality of artificial intelligence, the more it will nourish us in its purpose and service within society. I know this might sound strange, but if we act responsibly to nurture AI regarding its construction, actions and impact, then it will serve us well in the Build Back Better paradigm. This is a good way to view responsible AI, a digital partner that when stewarded responsibly can be of tremendous assistance in building our future. Before we start, let me share with you some simple statements on the purpose of AI ethics. It helps frame the paradox between humans and machines. It reveals how we can forge alignment between the human species and its environment with this emerging digital partner. The purpose of AI ethics is to alleviate the diversification of two intelligences, one organic, the other artificial. The solution requires an ethical framework that aligns the evolution of these two intelligences in order to progress both in common meaning and purpose. The benefit to resolving this paradox is advancement of the human species and the health of its environment towards intelligence-centric world futures that encourage new growth economically, culturally, socially, and individually. So what is the role of AI in Build Back Better paradigms? Within all effective long-term partnerships, trust, accountability, inclusivity, resiliency and sustainability are key to success. Shepherding AI responsibly as a digital partner is imperative. It puts us in the right mindset, one of positive intention for beneficial outcomes. AI also acts as a mirror to our humanity, inviting us into a new leadership capability, one that can be trusted to responsibly shepherd build back better experiences leveraging artificial intelligence. Let us be clear, today and in the foreseeable future, all forms of artificial intelligence feel no compassion, cannot fall in love, have no cognition, and have no feelings. AI has yet to understand our humanity, our cultures, our rich diversity, and our individuality. And yet, this left-brain-sided technology can operate at lightning speed in its decision-making, its logical sequencing, and analytic capability. Its performance is beyond the current capability of our human brains. Delegating decision-making and operation with human oversight to AI is an incredible opportunity for our nations, regions and cities to reinvent the systems to successfully build back better. We have been gifted with a new potential to start breaking the barriers of our imagination. We are surely entering a thrilling epoch of humans and machines. As we consider the role of AI in our Build Back Better paradigms to leap beyond the challenges of climate change and COVID, and to reduce the risk to nations and communities in the wake of disasters and shocks, let us consider 2 points. We must incorporate systems change thoughtfully, recognizing that development of this human-machine partnership will take time and that it will continually evolve. Many stakeholders must be included as we embark into new horizons. There is no turning back. Yes, there are quick wins to expedite improvements today, and we must act urgently. Time, or our competition, waits for no person. However, we must carefully build a resilient, secure, and ethical digital foundation that responsibly liberates the future of our nations and societies into the age of AI. Put simply, let's learn to walk before we can run. Point number 2. Physical infrastructure as we know it must change. The digital world must be integrated and operate alongside the physical world. That makes our entire physical infrastructure smart, efficient and resilient. Smart infrastructure. Therefore, it is imperative that we build technology and intelligence into all aspects of the national foundations of physical infrastructure. The static assets in our buildings and malls, within our cities, along our coastlines and along our roads, and our transportation systems, our energy grids, water and sewage systems, and telecommunication networks. Also the mobile assets, cars, vans, trucks, emergency vehicles, planes and drones, i.e. any asset that can move. Every physical infrastructure asset, whether static or mobile, has the potential to be symbiotically incorporated within distributed and intelligence-centric national and societal systems and services, whether they're public, private, disaster or emergency. In doing so, we are liberating intelligence-centric systems that can operate at the macro level, i.e. nationally or within a city, or to the micro level, along a walkway or in a home. These distributed AI-centric systems radically increase the efficiency and performance of public services, reducing their running costs and increasing ROI, restoring environmental balance, embodying resiliency, and they are proactive and adaptive in responding to threats, emergencies, or disasters. Smart and intelligent digital boots on the ground. The beneficial outcome is creating a new status quo where civilizations and their economies have the confidence to leap into and remain within secure, resilient, and flourishing world futures, World 3.0. There is no doubt within the age of AI, federal, state, and city operations and services will look very different within the next 5 to 10 years. So let us move on to the liberation of AI to assist in progressing into our future. How do we liberate AI to accelerate Build Back Better futures? AI ethics are paramount. As we have seen in an earlier graphic, the purpose of AI ethics is to assist in defining a digital foundation for AI that aligns the futures of humans and machines in common meaning and purpose. Their mission is to liberate new world experiences for our nation that honour and progress our cultures, our diversity, our sovereignty, our environment, in essence, futures where humanity thrives. Having the right AI ethics policies, legislation, governance, frameworks and certifications in place throughout the entire life cycle of AI, from its origins to deployment to upgrade or death, are key to us being responsible shepherds. You see, AI ethics enable us to have insider control over the creation of AI. This builds confidence and trust. Building trust is a hurdle that we must overcome and embody within the heart of democratic AI-centric futures. The human species has embarked on an evolutionary journey with AI. This digital partner can be mobilized to accelerate us from sluggish, expensive, and unjust human-centric systems into high-performant, adaptive, and equitable human-centric futures. As such, it is imperative that we understand what our ethics are, how they define us, and how they can advance us into the future. As such, it is imperative that they are incorporated within this digital partnership. These are a powerful tool equipping us to build back mindfully and better. And as a final note, when developing your AI ethics, have fun doing this. You are in a moment of creation. Enjoy it. AI infrastructure and cybersecurity. There are other trust aspects we must consider for successful outcomes in Build Back Better paradigms. Building national and regional state-of-the-art telecommunication networks, high-performance computing, and digital infrastructures will be key, for we are building the digital home for AI applications and services to exist and serve, from the silicon to the quantum, from the cloud to the edge, from the national to the local. Furthermore, protecting this AI-centric infrastructure is imperative, as well as protecting the digital well-being of Build Back Better artificial intelligences. As such, best-in-class cybersecurity and quantum type of encryption technologies are imperative to protect effective, intelligence-centric, Build Back Better systems, services, applications, and experiences. You see, cybersecurity must be embedded within the AI lifecycle and within its digital home. In doing so, we are liberating even more confidence and trust for the ability of AI to impeccably perform within multitudes of national and regional services and applications. I recommend reading an outstanding report written by the National Security Commission on Artificial Intelligence. It is a comprehensive strategy to mobilize the United States to become a global leader in artificial intelligence to benefit citizens within its domestic shores and its foreign allies. So let us explore some next steps on how we can steward artificial intelligence to be ethical and responsible in its construction, actions, and impact, i.e., how can we accelerate AI in our Build Back Better mandate? As part of liberating AI to accelerate Build Back Better futures, let us take a look at some terms that you're familiar with: explainable AI, responsible AI, trustworthy AI, and ethical AI. Explainable AI, put simply, Explainable AI is where decision-making and outcomes made by an artificial intelligence can be understood by humans, i.e., we understand why AI has made a particular decision or taken an action. In addition, we are able to measure and detect potential biases and correct those mistakes. This is imperative if we are to engender trust and build confidence when putting AI into action. Trustworthy AI. You are all probably aware of the recent leadership by the European Union that proposes the classification of all AIs deployed within its region. This region has created their own AI constitution. According to EU regulations on trustworthy AI, this digital citizen must comply with 3 mandates. Firstly, it must be lawful, respecting all applicable EU laws and regulations. Secondly, it must be ethical, respecting ethical principles and values of their civilizations. Thirdly, it must be robust from a technical perspective whilst taking into account its social environment, i.e., AI reliably operates within their civilizations in line with their ethics and their values. Cornell University recently published a paper on trustworthy AI. They state 6 of the most crucial dimensions to achieve trustworthy AI: safety and robustness, non-discrimination and fairness, explainability and privacy, accountability and auditability, and environmental well-being. Responsible AI. Put simply, responsible AI is a governance framework that guides and measures the quality of how an organization is addressing challenges around artificial intelligence from both an ethical and legal point of view. For example, Microsoft have 6 principles to guide responsible AI development and use. These are fairness, reliability and safety, privacy and security, inclusiveness, transparency and accountability. Ethical AI. I believe that ethical AI probably encompasses all the above AI terms as foundational pillars. We must ensure that AI provisions services that are explainable, responsible and trustworthy, drawing from the DNA of our ethical and moral principles. In a global review of 84 ethics guidelines for AI, the following common principles were found: transparency, i.e. explainability, justice and fairness, non-maleficence, responsibility, privacy, beneficence, freedom and autonomy, trust, sustainability, dignity and solidarity. I am sure that you would agree these are good ethical values for AI and our leadership upon which we can build back better. There are multitudes of best practices, frameworks and guidelines for developing responsible and trustworthy AI. For example, the World Economic Forum, the Alan Turing Institute, the IEEE, regions such as the EU, countries such as Australia, India, Japan, the USA, the UK, Brazil, Vietnam, and many private sector organizations from big tech to AI startups. Civilizations across the world are starting to define their future with AI and get into grips with their ethics and values to responsibly build their human-machine futures. Best practices, frameworks and guidelines are imperative for developing AI. It is widely understood that developing AI responsibly will require organizational and cultural change. My advice is to create an innovation and incubation ecosystem to build, trust and validate initial AI use cases. Try different best practices and frameworks. If you are working across different agencies, then collaborate together within a common incubation ecosystem. This preparation stage builds confidence to carefully enter into and then scale AI-centric futures with trusted technologies, products, services, and experiences. As we bring this presentation to a close, let me share with you a few points for consideration when building ethical AI. Let us look at constructing the digital mindset of artificial intelligence and also ethical AI certification. When we construct the digital mindset of AI, we use a term called AI data ethics. Without data, there would be no artificial intelligence. As such, when we are considering the ethical quality of AI, we must consider the ethical quality of the data being used to train and construct its digital mindset. If the data being used to train AI is unethical, then by logic, so must its classification. I am not talking about synthetic data or fake data here. If we are to create ethical-centric futures with AI, then we must ensure that its training and reference data is of impeccable ethical quality. One of the biggest conversations of our decade asks this question: is data an extension of human sovereignty? This is about user agency over our digital selves. People have no idea who has their data, have little control over its usage, and have no idea what it is being used for. It is widely reported by the likes of Pew that society is experiencing a trust paradox. This must be addressed if the general public is to trust and support AI-centric futures. We are all aware that the EU has GDPR. As such, all AIs that are trained using EU data from any of its 27 member countries will have the same ethical standard for the governance and agency of data. As such, by logic, we can be confident that because the ethical quality of the data conforms to a common standard, then so must the ethical quality of the digital mindset of all EU artificial intelligences, regardless of the member country of origin. As such, federal departments should seek to define common data ethics standards to ensure that there is common ethical quality between their artificial intelligences. We must also consider the subject of building AIs trained using datasets from different cultures. One nation may be rich in one type of culture that has particular principles and behaviors, where another is rich in a different culture with other types of values and behaviors. Will the AIs trained using datasets originating from these different cultures operate in the same manner? My point is this: cultures, whether global, national, spiritual, traditional or modern, whilst likely having a common set of values, the daily interpretation of those ethics may look different in everyday life. This is why it's imperative to have a common ethical AI foundation that defines a common set of virtues, values and beliefs for intercultural harmony. In essence, we must move beyond the limitations of Asimov's laws for machines and create a rich set of ethics and principles to serve our diversity well. This conundrum also applies to applying a common ethical standard to measure the ethical quality of AI supplied from different vendors. Both vendors may conform to a common responsible AI best practice, but how do we measure and certify that their AIs contain an equivalent ethical quality that constructed their digital mindsets, i.e., how can we be confident that they conform to a common ethical standard, and how do we measure, quantify, and qualify that? Ethical AI certification is fundamental to qualifying, quantifying, and measuring the ethical construction of AI. Certification holds the key to liberating common and premium standard ethical AI-centric futures. In doing so, we forge a common foundation to empower multi-stakeholder alignment. The result is acceleration of the cooperation, the collaboration, the invention, exchange, and supply based on common standards to liberate ethical AI. To find out more, please check out aiethics.world. You might also be interested in the EU-US white paper titled Artificial Intelligences Within Cities, the Next Stage in Societal Transformation. AI data ethics and an example of how ethical AI can enable pandemic resilient societies are also documented in Inventing World 3.0. In closing, we are building narrow AI-centric futures, and no doubt in decades to come this will transition to super-intelligent-centric futures. Today is the right time to lay the right ethical foundations for AI to benefit the advancement and diversity of the human species. In doing so, we are responsibly directing the future of this evolving digital partner. Remember, the more we nourish the quality of artificial intelligence, the more it will nourish us in its purpose and service within society. This conference has some fabulous topics being discussed. These will assist your leadership as ambassadors and champions to shepherd AI responsibly and liberate, build back better futures. I wish everyone to have a great conference. Thank you for listening to my talk. If you'd like to find out more, please contact me and the information provided on this slide, and please do check out aiethics.world. Thank you.